Welcome to High Stakes. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. On this show, I chat with authors about the moments in their stories that change everything, what's at stake, what it costs, and why we can't look away. From thrillers to romance to sci-fi and beyond. Let's get to it. Joining me today is author Bruce Robert Coffin to talk about his latest installment of his detective justice series, Bitterfall. Love that name. Love that title, I should say.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you so much.
welcome
I
to
gotta
the
hold
show,
mine
Bruce.
up too. There we go.
Yes,
There it is,
please
right?
do. Yeah, I'm not sure how well it comes across on the iPad here, so thank you for that.
Thank
Oh
you.
my gosh. My family and I, we visited your home state a little over a year ago and we just fell in love with it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we did all the little touristy things, Acadia National Park, Bar
Oh,
Harbor,
that's
and of course, we had to stop at Stephen King's house too.
because you did. That's funny.
Of course.
Bar Harbor is what I'm writing about right now. Actually,
Is that right?
I'm working on the third justice novel, appropriately titled Dark Harbor, and yeah,
Okay.
that one takes place right there in Bar Harbor around Acadia and stuff. So, yeah, Maine has so
Yeah.
much to offer. I mean, it's funny even in a short trip here, I can't imagine, how
Um,
hard it would be to get in like everything that Maine offers. The mountain thing for me
absolutely.
is it's funny because the coast. I grew up on the coast, so I know the coast well. The down east is a little different than the southern Maine area where I grew up, but I've spent a great deal of time, I think, in the last 20 years or so, discovering the mountains and Baxter State Park and hiking along the Appalachian Trail and all that stuff. So
Mm.
Maine has everything. I mean, it really does. It not only four seasons, but I swear to God, we have anything else you could want in the state. As far as topography goes, we've got all that too. So
Yeah, no, it sounds a little bit like I'm in North Carolina. It sounds a little bit like North Carolina because on the west side you have the mountains, in the middle it's just flat as all get out, and on the east side is the coast. So,
very
uh,
much, yeah, it's
yeah,
very much.
yeah.
We've driven. My wife retired 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago now, I guess, and we have traveled a lot to conferences, like Malice and Killer Nashville and BoucherCon. We've driven to a lot of places that we used to fly to, and
Yeah.
so going up and down the eastern seaboard, we've driven a lot through that area, and we really love the North Carolina. It has that home type feel to it when you drive through it, and I kind of like that, which is nice. So.
Yeah, I lived my entire life in Illinois, different parts of Illinois, and then my husband and I we came here. It's going on 6 years now, and we drive back and forth from Illinois to North Carolina when we visit. And
Hmm.
every time we start coming east and we hit those mountains right around the
Yeah.
Smokies there,
Yep.
it's just like we just feel like, oh, we're home
Right.
again. And from the first time we visited North Carolina so many years ago, it's always felt like that to us. And so I don't know what draw North Carolina had for me, but we were supposed to actually visit different states and figure out where we wanted to retire, but we just kept coming back to North Carolina.
That's
We didn't
awesome.
look anyplace else,
It
so
was
it
meant to
was
be. Yeah, no,
something.
it has that
Yeah.
same feel to it. We definitely love that. We went down to Asheville last year and got to see the
Mm.
Biltmore. I don't
Yeah.
know. Last year, the year before, it's a blur. But one of those two, and we really love that too. That was nice. We'd like to get down there and see that maybe decorated for the holidays some year
Oh,
too. That would be
it's
cool.
if you get an opportunity, it's just gorgeous during the holidays. And actually, every season, the gardens, everything, it's just they do such a really nice job there. I'm glad you got to see the Biltmore while you were in Asheville because it
Oh, it was
is one
very
of the,
nice.
yeah,
I want that
one,
library. I want to hang out in that library, read late at
right.
night. That would be great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, next time we're up in the Northeast and we're hitting your state there, I'm gonna have to email you and just say, "Hey, where should I go this time?" Because
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was such a beautiful state.
Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
Well, you have a very interesting background, especially for a crime fiction author. So if you don't mind just taking a few minutes, tell us a little bit about you and your writing journey. That would be awesome.
Sure. I didn't start off to be a police officer, but that's where my life took me. I actually went to college with the intention of becoming the next Stephen King. Aim high, and
Yeah, absolutely.
I loved writing, I loved reading. That had really been my thing all through school, and I wrote a lot of short stories in high school. I don't know. I fell in love with the idea, I guess, of writing a novel, but I didn't have the attention span at that point to do anything longer than a short story. So those really were that's where I cut my teeth, I guess, during those times. But that had always been my goal, and I had, which is it turns out to be a fairly familiar story, and I didn't realize this at the time, but most published writers that I have met have had a roadblock somewhere along the way, some that rough thing, and many times I find it's a less than nurturing professor in college,
Mm,
and really
hmm.
that was it for me. It didn't take much to derail me at that point. I had a lot of things that were drawing on my time. I had no idea really what I wanted to do other than be a writer. And it's one of those things where people tell you need a day job and whatever. So for me, when I found that my writing wasn't up to my professor's par, I just said, well, maybe I'll find something else to do then, because that's really all I wanted. And I just happened to choose the path of law enforcement because I had an uncle who did 35 years in a nearby small town and made the rank of lieutenant. And I'd looked up to him and seen him in uniform, and it was one of those things that really made an impact on me as a young guy. And so I said, well, I'll throw my hat in that ring. Taking tests was never a problem for me. I know I'm bright enough to do this. It's a question of whether or not I'm cut out for it.
Yeah.
And I did it for 28 years. I made detective sergeant when I retired from the police department in Portland, Maine. That was in the fall of 2012. I'm sitting here doing the math, going, "That's not possible. How could I have been gone that long?" But
Yeah.
yeah, and that
Slips by
I
fast.
was in charge of the homicide and violent crime detectives, and absolutely loved that job until I didn't. And for me,
Yeah.
it was 28 years, and as it so happens, I had just begun writing again. The first time I had done any fiction writing for almost 30 years, and it was right after the holidays that year in 2012. My wife got me an iPad, and I wasted the obligatory 2 months playing Words with Friends, thinking that's all the iPad was for. And then when I realized what a waste of time that was, I just tripped over the word pad, and instead of using it for a grocery list or honeydew list, I started writing, and
Oh,
literally the characters and things started to fall out of me, and I had no idea. I couldn't have told you what a procedural was if you'd asked me back then. I knew what a mystery book was, but I had no idea what a
yeah.
procedural was, and that's really how it started. And
That's
I was
amazing.
very lucky to just really buckle down. I retired, like I say, probably 9 months after I had started writing again, and I had the bug so bad for writing that was really my first goal was just to see if I could complete a novel. And I've
Yeah.
overshot a little, as it turns out. The book you just held up is will be out next week officially. It drops on the 13th, and that's my 10th published novel. So
Oh, that's
I
great.
don't know how we got here that quickly, but here we are. So
Time
suddenly
does
there's
slip away quickly,
deadlines.
doesn't it?
Right,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
does.
yes.
It
Yeah.
really does.
Deadlines.
I had
Yeah.
a friend of mine who's a mystery writer from this area. She splits her time between Mass and Maine. Is Kate Flora, and Kate has written numerous fictional mystery books, different series. She's done true crime, three or four, I believe, that were all pretty powerful stories. And she kind of became my de facto mentor as I started doing this. And I can every time I see her, she still reminds me. But she used to tell me, "Be careful what you wish for." All I wanted was to get published, like every writer, right? That's all I could
Yeah.
see. Everything else was in
Yeah.
the way, and she was right. There's a lot of other things that go along with it.
Oh, yes. There's that whole business and marketing side
Yeah,
of it is just,
yeah.
yeah. Especially these days, I think it might be a little different than it was 20, I don't know, 15,
Oh
20 years
yeah.
ago. But
No, it's true.
yeah,
Social media changed everything. I think
I agree. I
you know.
absolutely agree. I do not recall the name of the bookstore, shame on me, but it was in Bar Harbor. It's big, beautiful, long bookstore
hmm
right there in downtown. And they
Sherman's,
had Sherman's. Yes,
Sherman's.
thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. They had a local section. And it appears that Maine produces quite a few authors.
We do. We
It's
do.
a very moody environment atmosphere up there or something that speaks to
We
authors, I
breed
guess.
killers, I guess. I don't know any other way to say it. So yeah, no, it's amazing how many mystery writers there are. We talk about that all the time. Like Tess Gerritsen and people like that. We'll all end up tripping over each other at events up here, and everywhere you look, there's a mystery writer. Someone's
Oh,
plotting
that's
a
great.
plotting a murder someplace for the page. So, uh,
Watch out.
right, it's true. Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. Well, Bitterfall is the second book in your Detective Justice series. Do I have
It
that
is.
right?
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
My
What can
publisher's trying to
you?
kill me.
Oh.
This one came out on this is the first book in the series, and this one came out
Mhm.
on November 4th.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I had been up until just recently had been co-authoring the action adventure series, the Turner and Mosley Files with Lindy Walker, and so I asked for more time than we had originally bargained for because they wanted more books in that series, and so they agreed to give me more time to turn in the third manuscript, which is the one I'm working on now. And in exchange for that, they moved up the second book from May of 26 to this month. And I'm like, I'm not
Oh
sure
my
I'm
gosh.
not sure we're getting the same wavelength here on how that works. But so, I mean, I'm
Uh,
very excited. The people that are
yeah.
reading it can't wait. Actually, it works out well. But I don't want people to think they're going to get a book every 2 months. That's not going to happen. So,
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. No, that's amazing that you well, I think with traditional publishing, you're handing the book in so far in advance
right.
that I guess they can play with the release date there a little bit sometimes,
And it's
but
weird. Like it's funny we talk about this. I realize now there's a parallel between what we do and what actors do, because I remember for years watching. Somebody would come out with a new movie. They'd be on the late night talk show circuit. Plugging that movie. And if you really paid attention to the interview, you could tell that the actor really had no idea what the hell the movie was about. And they would tell you once in a while, they would admit they'd shot like 5 movies since that one. They couldn't remember the movie. And I think they only
right.
show the clip, not for the audience, but for the actor. And I said at a recent event, I go, it's like that. I mean, we're here
Yeah.
talking about Crimson Thaw, but Bitter Fall is coming out. I'm trying to remember that book, and I'm
And
working
you're
on Dark
writing a
Harbor. Yeah,
different book,
so
yeah.
it's very weird. So
Well, speaking of Bitterfall, why don't you give us just a quick summary of it? I always like the author to do it so I don't inadvertently give away
all
any
right.
spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah, really, the book takes place largely in Greenville, Maine, which for anyone who's ever been to this state and spent any time vacationing in the summertime or even in the winter, really, Greenville is known for Moosehead Lake. It's where Moosehead, the base of Moosehead Lake is, and of course it extends into smaller territories and stuff. But it's a beautiful area. It's one of those places where we all know Hollywood people love to vacation and buy these expensive waterfront homes. That's one of those places you might find people like that.
Oh,
And just for me, I when I started writing this series, the Brock Justice series, I wanted to be able to reach out and kind of extend my Maine palette into northern Maine, northern and central and down eastern Maine, and get away from Portland, which is what I had been writing with my Byron series. So really, writing a state police detective allowed me to branch out and just to explore different parts of the state. So Bitter Fall is the second installment, and really what it finds this time is there are some things that continue from Crimson Thaw. Readers were introduced to Brock Justice, who's a second generation Maine State police, Maine State trooper, but he is a homicide detective, and he is working with a new partner named Chloe Wright. And Chloe is a fun character to write as well.
yeah. She's
She
a
has
great
her
partner.
own. She really does.
Yeah.
I mean, they both challenge each other. I think she might be
Yeah.
better at challenging Brock for positive things, but Brock's a mess, and
Yeah.
they kind of have a tough relationship in that he's the senior person. They're both very headstrong. They're both very capable, and it's a question as the series goes on of them developing that trust that's necessary between detectives. And so this second one really sets them up for that. In that they basically respond to what appears at first glance to be pedestrian vehicle accident in the middle of the night. There's a drunk driver involved. The pedestrian's clearly dead on the road when they get there, and then quickly the reader will find out things are not as they seem. Nothing is as easy as it ever seems, really, when you go to do a murder scene like this. And and so then off we go, and they're trying to piece that together. And it has, the one nice thing about these that I really like is that it gets you away from the city. I try to build into this as most accurately as I can the trials and tribulations of remote homicide detectives. State police detectives in Maine are operating really in the middle of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah.
Resources certain times of the year or certain places can be almost impossible to find, which requires them to do more work themselves. I take a few liberties because I have to keep the story moving. Things happen maybe with greater pace than they would in real life, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
and every time it's the same. They go to a different place. They're really it's not a home base for them. Like they're both working out of Troop E, which for the Maine State Police is the Bangor barracks. But Bangor is like, if you look at the map, it's not even in the center of the state. So you have the entire state above that, which is just monstrous and really protrudes into Canada that
Yeah.
a handful of detectives are responsible for. And so they could be anywhere. And this particular time, I chose to have bad things happen in Greenville. So
Yeah, I have to say, Bruce, I really really loved Bitter Fall, and
thank you.
as I was reading it, especially Brock's first chapter, I was thinking to myself that you could actually teach a master class in character development because sometimes it's a little hard for me to connect with a particular character, especially in the beginning, like the first, I don't know, 10, 15, 20% of the book. It takes me a little while just to kind of connect and figure out who they are. But for the way that you set up Brock, and actually any of the other characters that you introduced throughout the novel, I got them right away, and I understood them right away. At least I felt like I did. And so I don't know if you've got any tricks for budding writers or even seasoned writers on how you accomplish that, but it was amazing because I really fell into the story a lot faster,
Well, thank you.
just within a few, yeah, just
Thank you. Well, I don't
within a
want to
few
give anything
pages.
away. If I have to teach a class now, I don't want
Yeah, I'll sign up.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, everything we do by accident. I mean, you can learn all the rules there are to do with writing, and really, it comes down to we know what we like as readers, and I think you try to find a way to put your own stamp on that, something that
Mhm.
you can do comfortably. And for me, I've always enjoyed the feeling of um, not. I don't want to feel like I'm being told the story. I want to feel like I'm in the head of the characters, and so
Mhm.
rather than me as a writer telling you who my characters are, I figure you can pick up. So, well, in real life, what do we do? You meet someone for the first time, or you go out to coffee with somebody, or you're meeting with friends, but maybe you don't know everyone there, and you spend all your time watching how they react with other
Mm.
people, how they hold themselves, what they say, are they paying attention? All those things. We're trying to basically develop an opinion of who they are based on everything we're seeing or hearing. And for
Yeah.
me, I feel like that's how I want to introduce all the characters. I don't want to tell you anything about them. I want you to see, or I want to tell you the bare minimum about them, and I want you to see how they react, how they deal with people, how they evaluate something that they're looking at, which is really what a homicide detective is constantly doing, is evaluating and
Mm.
reevaluating. And to me, that's just a cool way of doing it. It's like I shoved the reader in next to Brock or Chloe, and there you are. You're going to be in the interview with
Yeah.
them, or you're going to be in the car with them, racing to the scene. I want you to feel the same things that they're feeling: the excitement, the frustration, the sadness, the repulse by a nasty scene. I want you to feel that as the reader, and I feel like that's my goal. From what you said, I accomplished it, but
Mission accomplished.
you
Yes,
never.
I was going to say mission accomplished. You
Thank you,
did it.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, you never
absolutely.
know. I mean, I think we all write the best we can, and hopefully the reader identifies with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on this show, I like to talk, we like to talk about the story's stakes. High stakes
Yeah,
is the name of the podcast. So things like love, death, the fate of the realm are all high stakes in the story. But what I like to do is just delve a little bit deeper, maybe a little bit underneath the surface, and figure out what is personally at stake for, your protagonist, let's say Brock, since it feels more like his story than any of the other characters.
right.
What would you say is at stake for Brock, and maybe what happens if he fails?
Well, I mean, really, the whole series is predicated on him surviving and trying to bounce back from what really was the ultimate, speed bump in his career. Brock was assigned initially to the Major Crimes Unit South, which is the southernmost region for the state police. They have within Maine State Police, it's Southern Major Crimes, Central, and Northern, and now he's assigned to Northern Maine. And really, the reason he got moved is a combination of something he witnessed in the first book, which your readers have to go find, and then and because of his own really kind of being a hot dog, he had that kind of cowboy attitude because he's very good at what he does, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that comes with being overconfident to your own really to your own demise. And in this case, he ended up having to testify against a fellow trooper and friend, and that has not endeared him to his cohorts. All the detectives, I mean, all the state troopers have varying opinions about Brock Justice after that happened. And so that carries over into Northern Maine. And really, it's a fish out of water story in that he's now
Mm.
working an area he's not comfortable, not familiar with. It's the Northern Maine and the rural Maine that his father, Albert, loved and loves. But Albert was a trooper before him. So there's a lot of pressure to try and figure out how to reinvent his career, to restore his career. I mean, in his mind, I think he thinks he'll figure this out and then end up back where he was, and everything will be good again. But the reader knows, and we know that that's probably highly unlikely. So this is him learning to adapt to a world that's very strange to him,
And
and
he's
he,
trying to figure out who he can trust too in
right,
this
right.
new
Well,
era.
and
Yeah.
and I think as we
Yeah.
started down this path before, and I didn't get into that. That was one of the problems with small towns is not only does Brock have to figure out if he and Chloe can trust each other, but he's got a boss who tells him right up front she doesn't want to work with him. Didn't
Mhm.
want him to come up to Northern Maine. She doesn't want to have to deal with him because he is a hot dog.
Yeah.
And that this is a team sport up here, and there's not a lot of us. And I would just as soon have you not around. So that's something he's dealing with. But every time Brock and Chloe go to a small town, they don't know who to trust. I mean, a lot of times these towns are incredibly small, like
Hmm.
less than 1,000 people that are year-round residents. And so the police department, the fire department, the town government, your victim, your suspects, everybody knows everybody. And
Yeah.
so you really have to play. You have to be smart about keeping your cards close to the vest and knowing who you can say what to, and you almost have to suspect everybody because you don't know that
Yeah.
not for the murder, but they might
Right.
undermine you because of a friendship that you're not aware of. So
Yeah.
to me, it creates a lot of tension that carries over through all these books. So.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that. Very good. Well, you, as you were, well, actually, I think we were talking about before I hit the record button, but talking about, the different conferences and things like that that you've
Mm.
gone to over the years. Have you come across a piece of writing advice that's really resonated with you, or is there something that maybe you have learned over the course of your career, some writing philosophy that you'd like to share?
Don't bore the reader. I don't know where I stole that from. That there's a
It's good.
that sounds like an Elmore Leonard type of thing.
It
Um,
does.
I think if there's two that I picked up on that I kind of keep in the back of my mind all the time. One of them was Joe Wambaugh, and obviously monstrously successful and came from the same background that I had. And his advice was to not show the reader what the police do in a murder investigation, but to show what the job does to the police. And I think
Ah,
there's a lot to that. And I think that might be
interesting.
one of the reasons that you identified quickly with the
Mm.
characters, because I'm doing that right out of the gate. I'm showing you the effect that what has happened is having on the detectives. And I think that's the big one for what we do. Um, but I also have learned a lot about human nature, pacing. Jeffrey Deaver talks at length about this, but about keeping the chapters short, keeping things concise, coming into the story late and getting out early, and that applies to the chapters as well. Really, you don't want the reader to have a chance to really think too much about the fact that they're reading a book. You're creating an illusion, and you want them hooked so that they have to finish the thing. There's nothing better than getting an email when I wake up in the morning that somebody's chastising me for keeping them awake till 2:30 in the morning. I
That's
love
the
that.
best compliment, isn't
It
it?
is. It absolutely is. You hooked them. There was no getting
Yeah,
away, and to me, that's why we do what we do. You're providing an escape
absolutely.
for people. It's the same escape that we provide ourselves while we're writing. And so, if
Yeah.
you can learn the tricks so that people don't see the stitching, then you're creating something that they'll come back for more. I think that's the key to all of this. So,
Yeah, that's great. Well, my last question is hopefully a little bit of a fun question. What's one thing readers might be surprised to learn about you?
I spent over 20 years or 25 years painting professionally. I did watercolor, oils, acrylics, portraits, landscapes, a lot of commission work.
Wow,
And I
that's
and I don't
amazing.
and I feel like I just traded one for the other. I think what I was doing at the time was giving my creativity someplace to go. Not a lot of creativity in law enforcement, and not a lot of time to be creative. So I could paint for 5 minutes at a time if that's what was allotted. And really, I think it was a placeholder for a storytelling.
Ah, I
And
love
I
that.
I had no idea that that was going to hold me over until I finally found writing again. And now that I have writing, I've learned two things. One is I really don't need the painting anymore. That's not my thing. I don't have the time anyway. And two, painting was easier.
Ah, yeah. Well,
A
I
lot
mean,
easier.
I've never really done any painting, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
I will take your word for it because writing is hard. There's no doubt about it,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, and
Uh,
it's such a similar thing. I mean, even though they're two totally different mediums, I think, I tell people when you talk about, I used to say, like with actors, why do they want to be musicians? Stay in your lane. You're so good at being an actor. But you realize if as a creative person, we're always challenging ourselves. There's always something
mhm.
new you want to try. And I feel like it doesn't matter if it's painting, if it's music, if it's writing, we're creating a mood. We're trying to evoke emotion from you. We're layering, we're texturing, we're storytelling. I think it's all the same. I think there's just a
Yeah.
different way you go about it. But if you do it well, then I think people have something that they can come back to and look forward to getting more of. So
Well
that was
said.
deep. That was a lot deeper
Yeah,
than I meant to
no,
get.
I
But
love it. That's great. I never really thought about it that way. So no, I appreciate that. Well, before we go, can you share what's coming up next? I think you've already hinted a little bit at, was it Dark Harbor maybe?
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, next week is Bitter Fall, which is the second book in the Detective Justice Mystery Series, and then following that in August will be Dark Harbor, which is Brought Justice #3, and that one will be set in and around Bar Harbor, Maine.
All right.
And so yeah, and then I'm not giving anything away after that. So
All right. Mom's the word. Okay, great. Well, we will look forward to well, readers will look forward to Bitterfall. I've already had the pleasure of reading it, which is amazing, and I hope
thank you so
folks will
much.
go out and grab their copy today.
Thank you
You
so
can
much.
learn more about Bruce at brucerobertcoffin.com, where you'll also find all of his social media links.
Awesome.
Bruce, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a real pleasure finally meeting you. We've been friendly on social media for quite some time, but it's always great to meet you face to face, even if it is virtually.
Likewise, thank you. The pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much.
That's it for today's high stakes story. Follow the show so the next episode lands right in your feed. And if you enjoyed today's chat, a quick rating or review helps new listeners find us. Visit tracydevlyn.com/podcast for for show notes and links to today's amazing guest and their fabulous book. High Stakes is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. Thanks for listening. Until next time, enjoy the adventure, everyone.